Countyfairgrounds and Cool K here. I have the original, the one, the only Diana Rose on the phone with me.
Yes, you do.
Okay, Diana, you do something different. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I am a circus artist, and I am a stilt walker, and I walk around and I entertain the young and the old by walking as a 10-foot bee, ladybug, and butterfly, otherwise known as beneficial bugs.
Okay, that's different. I've never seen anything like that before. I have interviewed a lot of stilt walkers. Okay. So where did this idea come from, and how long have you been doing it?
Actually, I started as an aerialist in a circus, and I started doing stilt walking in 2020 because it was a way to socially distance, and it's something I'd always wanted to do. So I started doing it in 2020. I bought the stilts and just kind of kept going from there. And I was like, what's a fairly simple costume that I can make? Well, I found some butterfly wings, and then I made the stilt covers, and the costume kind of grew out of that. So I started stilt walking as a butterfly for about a year. And as I did that, I found out how much I loved it. So I kept doing it. I actually really love stilt walking and doing aerial work because that way you get to work out your lower body and your upper body. It's a great combination. So I started stilt walking as the butterfly, and I thought to myself, how can I go ahead and turn this into something that's the bigger message, something that I can grow. And as a child, I dressed up as a bee and as a ladybug for Halloween, and I decided to go ahead and make those costumes. So I went into a process for about a year of making those costumes and sort of just working on, how it was supposed to look and things like that. And I developed those costumes and debuted it as beneficial bugs, because we all need to bring awareness to the plight of our pollinators and figure out what's going to, save the planet in a sense, because if we don't have our pollinators, we don't have our food, and we don't keep living. So I wanted it to have a bigger message too, other than just purely entertaining. So saving the plight of the pollinators, and definitely the bees and the ladybugs and the butterflies, the bees especially, are in danger. So all of them are, so we can do different things like planting habitat. And so I wanted it to be a bigger message. So all of this grew out of that, and then kind of finding my love for a way to make it not just entertainment, but also educational.
Okay. Most people don't come out of school doing what you're doing. So, obviously you went to high school. Did you go to college?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to college at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and I graduated with a major in Japanese and a minor in linguistics.
Okay. So how did you get
stuff?
Yeah, how did you get from that to this?
I think I've always been drawn to the unusual, and I'm a little girl from Illinois. I'm from central Illinois, and definitely from the cornfields. Everybody eats steak and potatoes. I had never encountered chopsticks in my life until I had gone to Japan at the age of 15 or 16, let alone another language, really. So I started taking languages in school, and I started with French because I was a ballerina, and my school decided that they cut out beginning French, or they cut out French 1, so you went from beginning French to French 2, and it was just really intense. And a friend of mine had shown me this Japanese language book that we had, because I went to a laboratory high school. So they did some more experimental things. So they offered a Japanese class, and I needed some language to get into college. So I went ahead and took Japanese and really, really took to it. My second year taking Japanese, I actually won a scholarship through Youth for Understanding and Mitsubishi Motors to go to Japan. And as soon as I went to Japan, the country really touched me, the people really touched me, and I just loved it. I loved the language, so I kept going. And I always danced and had theatrical stuff on the side, but my parents were very practical. They wanted me to be a computer programmer, and see what they got. They got a circus performer. And everything unusual. Like I said, just even the writing in Japanese fascinated me, and the culture that I was never used to fascinated me. And I loved the circus ever since I was a young child. As a matter of fact, coming from Bloomington Normal, Illinois, there's a Normal, Illinois, or Normal University is actually a university to teach teachers. And they experiment with all sorts of stuff, and they have the laboratory high school there, and it's the spot where there's only 2 collegiate circuses in the United States. There's FSU in Florida, and then there's ISU, Illinois State University, and they have Gamma Phi Circus. So I started going as a kid, and I've always loved the circus. So then when I'm in my 30s and I'd been a dancer and everything else, and I encountered circus again, because I'd done some aerial arts from a young age, but never anything serious, I was like, I love this. Let's keep going.
Hey, are you a mother?
I am not. I have a fur baby mother. I have a fur baby, Milo. He's fantastic.
That's okay. I had some of those too. So then you kept going to the circus thing, and what did you do?
What did I do? I originally was an owner of a show, and I did everything from the concessions to the tickets to performing. I've been ringmaster, aerialist, illusionist, concessions manager, ticket manager, get those porta potties over there now manager, permits, to being the one out there actually selling the tickets and putting up the posters. So that's actually one of the things that's really drawn me to circus my entire life. And circus can be a great word for some people and a horrible word for other people. It just depends. Like, some people love it and some people use it to describe chaos. I always find that it's, if it's done right, it's not chaos, and that's the whole point.
Diana, are you a grounds act or a stage act?
I do both.
Okay.
Typically, when I'm stilt walking, I do a grounds act. I stroll around, I talk with people, I do peg stilts, so I tell people as long as the ceiling's high enough, there's almost no terrain that I can't navigate. And the only one time I found that not to be true was in Kentucky, where they cross-cut the grass, and there was sometimes a 3-foot difference between what you saw on the top of the grass and where the ground was.
Oh,
that one got a little challenging. But beyond that, as long as the ceiling's high enough, I can usually do almost anywhere and anything. And that's actually part of what I really love, is walking around and playing with the people. But generally speaking, as an aerialist, I don't do ambient work as much as I have an act. And part of what I consider my magical skill is that I'm just really good at connecting with the audience. And even when I'm like up there as an aerialist, there's always going to be somebody who's better than you. There's always going to be somebody who's more flexible, who's younger, who's this, who's that. But I go up there and have fun. And I think that's the biggest key. In that, I'm more of a stage act.
So what shows have you done lately? I mean, say like in the last year or so.
I have worked for a shrine circus. I have also done a fair show called Space Adventures Thrill Show, where I was on the outside of a motorcycle globe. So performing on my lyra, being swung around in a circle while a motorcycle propelled me, as well as a motorcycle on the inside. The year before that, they were 3-ring super circus, where I did an aerial act. I've performed for Circus Vargas in California. A whole bunch of little shows.
Okay. So you're in Florida now. Have you done Florida shows?
Actually, I was kind of laughing because for as much advertising as I've done here, I have never once been hired to perform in Florida as a stilt walker. So as Beneficial Bugs, my company, when I was traveling with the Space Adventures Thrill Show and 3-ring Super Circus, we did a couple of dates in Florida, yes. But I'm no longer traveling with them.
So what you're really trying to book now is this bug act?
Yep. I like it being called a bug act. Yeah, Beneficial Bugs is the main thing I'm booking, largely because it only takes me and my stilts. So I literally can put that in the car and go just about anywhere. If I didn't have my doggo with me, I could fly. So it makes it a little easier because I've had dates across the country, North Dakota, South Dakota, Connecticut, stuff like that. So it's a long way to drive sometimes. So working to build a little bit more of a schedule, more of a route with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also working to bring up Circus-Rose. So Circus-Rose is kind of still a glimmer in my eye at this point. I would like it to be a 30-minute outdoor show. I would like it to be Circus-Rose Presents Beneficial Bugs and to have it be a bug-related circus. I have all kinds of ideas with that, but I'm also looking at a 4-person cast, which staying small is usually the best way to keep the price down for the fairs. So haven't quite gotten there yet. So at this moment, I'm mostly booking Beneficial Bugs.
Okay. So how long, you start and you do these shows, how many hours a day do you think you do? I'm curious.
Well, typically at fairs, if they're only open from like 4 or 5 p.m., something like that, I'll put in about 2 hours of stilt walking in the evening. And then sometimes I usually try to let them, they like to let me have freedom to choose the times, because what I promise is 2 30 to 45-minute sets within that time frame. But I usually try to underpromise and overgive. So a lot of times I'll go out, and if it's really busy, I may stay out for the full 2 hours without coming back, because it takes a long time to get down off of stilts and out of costume and then back into stilts and back into costume. And personally, I guess I have a little more stamina than the average human at times. So personally, I would rather stay out there for the full 2 hours. And I've just kind of noticed, and I've learned that if it's really busy, like I can stay out for a long time. And if I start to feel fatigued, like I have a couple little tells for myself that I've started to notice, and I'll go in. But if it's not that busy, a lot of times I'll go in and then save my energy for the times when people are walking around.
And then there's the weekends. There's the wind. How do you deal with the wind?
Well, let me just finish on the weekends. I usually try to do 4 hours. Wind, actually, I would say generally is not a problem. Okay. I make most of my costumes, and I do know, well, I make all my costumes, but certain parts of it are purchased, certain parts of me I've made from scratch. And specifically the wings, I specifically do not attach the wings to my back, as I had thought about doing originally with the butterfly especially. But I don't, because that way it allows the wind to blow and they just kind of flap rather than act like sails.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, as a stilt walker who does peg stilts and stilt covers, the biggest thing I found is the wind really pulls, like on the stilt covers that pull on your stilt. And that actually is the part that gets a little bit challenging when it's really windy. So I have a ladybug costume that I have long, big, billowy stilt covers, and I tie the bottoms. So that one, if it's incredibly windy, I have been known to go back in and change to, say, the bee, which has a little bit less stilt cover to catch the wind. So it depends on the costume. There's only one time, sometimes in North Dakota, it got a little intense. But as a matter of fact, I was on ground when somebody else got blown over. Another stilt walker got blown over, and I managed to stay standing. So, because if you get a good gust, it can be a challenge. But generally speaking,
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine. Are there places you'd like to perform that you haven't had the opportunity to?
Everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much find that once I perform somewhere, I mean, I love seeing different places in the world. And I really like Maine and Rhode Island and Connecticut and, of course, up in Oregon and California. Like, I love all the coasts. But then I had this opportunity to go to Spearfish, South Dakota this last year, and I was like, this is phenomenal. So I don't think there's any specific spot, but I love everywhere I go, and I have been very blessed and fortunate to find out that most people, once I go, tend to have me back year after year.
I have to ask this question. I ask all the entertainers this question. Have you had any really bad experiences that made you rethink what you're doing?
Well, for those of you who know, I did used to own a circus, and I don't anymore. And that was quite the experience, but I'm excited to take that as a learning opportunity and keep moving forward. So yes, for those of you who know me and some of my experience in circus, like I have owned a circus before, so I'm kind of looking forward to building back, and that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. So that's why I'm looking forward to the growth of Circus-Rose, because yeah, it's not just, some people tell me, oh, you just should get out of circus, get out of entertaining. My personal opinion is this happens everywhere. So do what you love and love what you do. And, you know, we all have to take growing experiences and learning experiences. And it can sound cliche, but you either learn and grow or you do something new. So it's challenging at times, but yes.
Do you do your own booking?
I do my own booking. I do have an agent, but at this point I have mostly, 99.9% been my own booking, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, in that particular case, now we've gone over what you do pretty well, and I know that your dog travels with you too, right?
Yes.
I'm really attached to mine too, so I understand. Oh. Anyway, how do people reach you if they want to book you?
If you want to book me, you can go to circusdianarose.com. You can also email me at circusdianarose@gmail.com. You can call me at 949-244-8557. Any of those ways would reach me. And, yeah, I look forward to hearing from you.
I don't think your email's on your website.
Might not be. My website is a little bit of a mess, and I've been working on that as I've been trying to develop some other stuff. I do have some new things coming up for beneficial bugs. Hopefully there's going to be a beneficial buggy coming out and some other things in the next year or so. But as I do that, I've been finding it's kind of difficult to find time for all the internet stuff too.
Yes, believe me, I understand. Okay, Diana, I'll get this up, and hopefully you'll get some bookings from it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.